Welcome to the Mobile Ecosystem Forum podcast, Perspectives in Mobile. The podcast where we look into the most pressing issues, trends, and innovation shaping the mobile landscape today. In this special series, we look at how companies are managing change in the digital era. This series is supported by netnumber.
Welcome to Managing Change in the Digital Era, a Perspectives in Mobile podcast series supported by netnumber. Over 6 weeks, we have delved into essential topics in the telecom and digital transformation space. In the ever-evolving landscape of digital innovation, the role of data solutions is paramount. At the forefront of this dynamic field stands Bradley Greer, the Vice President of Data Solution and Product Marketing at netnumber. Hi, Bradley. Thank you for joining.
Hi, thanks for having me.
With over 18 years of leadership experience spanning a diverse array of tech sectors like digital identity protection, data acquisition, solution engineering, digital banking, and product development, Greer embodies the essence of this field in expertise and innovation. Bradley, can you elaborate on your role as Vice President of Data Solutions and Product Marketing at netnumber? What are your primary responsibilities and objectives?
Yeah, so first off and foremost, at netnumber, it's important to say, as a phone number intelligence provider, we have a very broad audience. Data works everywhere, right? So the data solutions part of my role really is focused on working with clients and partners to plug and play netnumber data services into their ecosystem to help them accomplish a variety of use cases, right? Some of those varieties of use cases could be provisioning, routing communications, or the fraud prevention and detection, or creating or establishing trust through phone numbers, right? Clients and partners fuel the needs of our services, and many times we identify new priorities for the industry we serve, resulting in demands for new products. This is the part to where I really work and partner with our product development to fuel the roadmap to new objectives to meet the demands of our clients and partners. So with data, it's a very broad landscape, right? So a lot of times what happens is we identify key opportunities to where nothing exists in the ecosystem, and I work with product to help make that happen. We're continually rolling out new products here at netnumber and features that enables clients to integrate phone number intelligence further into their ecosystem. So that's really with the data solutions part of my role. Then product marketing kind of adds to that, right? Because phone number intelligence data can be so complex yet versatile, I manage the marketing team and work on communicating out our brand and messaging of our products to accelerate growth and position our services. Having a background in data and digital identity for a long time, and also being a long-term monetizer of netnumber data before my time here, I noticed that there's a really key message in delivering, data, complex data to new markets and industry that could see more value using the phone number. So really, the marketing component is really evolving and locking down that message and making sure that everyone in the world knows what data is out there and what it can do to help them solve challenges and problems.
How strong is the power of data as an identifier? I was talking lately, it's an election year. In every country there are elections, and political messaging is is paramount, and it's so important
Yeah.
to verify the identities because even with a open AI agent playing the role of any kind of even dead president, and politicians. It happened in India. Okay, so anyway, what was the power of data as an identifier?
Yeah, so really just think of it this way. So we live in a digital world, right? Almost everything is now on the computer or a device. And the technology has emerged faster than the data that's being used or monetized to support it. So data as an identifier really is putting together and demystifying that, right? Our devices go with us everywhere. It's the tool that we use to uniquely identify all of our digital activity. So really, that's the strength of it. This year, actually, we've launched kind of a new awareness campaign, which is called Number Intelligence as a Service. And really, what that stands for is that stands for real time data, fueling and funneling, because data is the way you're identified in the digital world, and you need real time data to support that. So those two things kind of come closely together, to just demonstrate the dominance and strength is our digital voice has become stronger than our in-person voice ever could imagine being.
And how this connect with the mobile ecosystem?
Yeah, so the mobile ecosystem really, I mean, our mobile devices are on the front end, right? A lot of companies and a lot of technology are uniquely identifying people by their mobile devices instead of their national ID or social security number or their address or any other piece of information, right? And so that's really how it touches front and center to the mobile ecosystem.
Could you discuss some of the key challenges you have encountered in developing, let's stay with the identity verification solutions for any kind of organization?
Yeah, so some key challenges for global organizations really is addressing the silos. Technology has been adopted. We have all of these great features. We have all of these different things running through global organizations, right? Well, what's happened is there's been a tremendous amount of silos created, either for whatever reason, whether it's country or whether it's a service that is located in one specific place, right? And so basically, some of the challenges that come through that is you'll identify similar problems per country or per service, but they're not synced up with each other. So the same organization could be using a different service and interpreting the data differently. And so I will say that that's probably one of the biggest challenges that global organizations are facing. Another is just simply, and we don't need to get into too many details on this conversation about data privacy and compliance, but I will say that oftentimes for identity verification solutions in global organizations, interpretations of regulatory guidelines and best practices sometimes don't align to put the best solution in place. So what's happening at global organizations is you might have one service way over here and located in a specific country, and you're trying to adopt that service into another country, and those use cases or those permissions might be laid out a little bit different to whatever their stance is in data privacy or compliance. And so I will say that it creates a tremendous amount of bottleneck to where you need flexible data to really solve your identity verification needs.
Hmm. And would you think of a world where there are, let's say, international treaties regulating in the same way this kind of things? That would be a help. I mean, apart from the, you know, let's say,
Yeah,
ethical point of view, which is important, of course, but from the
of
practical
course.
point of view, would
Yeah, so
would you like something like that if it ever was possible?
yeah, so I think that it's important to continue to streamline those things and take them as they come, right? Um, as a service provider of very many different types of enterprises, the best approach is to look at the problem and figure out the details on how to solve it, and make sure that everybody is focused on putting their best foot forward towards identity verification, right? To think intelligently on how they're being a good data custodian and using data for good. I always take that approach in those settings. And then usually data privacy, compliance, regulation, all of those things figure themselves out, right? Because we do have great people writing laws, making different types of regulatory requirements.
You were mentioning one exciting new technology, but what are the emerging trends of technologies in the field of data solution that you see as particularly promising?
Yeah. So being at a data service provider, I'm always very close and in tuned with the incorporation of artificial intelligence and machine learning into traditional processes. It requires a larger demand for real-time data, and that's really what NetNumber does. Is we focus on having real-time data that you can plug and play into your ecosystem, and everything's totally flexible, right? And so I think that that's probably the biggest thing that fascinates me on emerging trends is the demand is there. Your model isn't going to work if you don't have real time data, especially when you're dealing with communications or any kind of accurate machine learning or AI algorithms that you come up with.
Okay, that's, in artificial intelligence, it certainly is exciting
Yeah,
and very promising, but
yeah,
it also poses
and,
risks and
and
related to
And
fraud.
Ricardo, one other thing before we move on from that I will say that we do see a lot of uptick of overhead costs
I see.
requiring out of the box thinking
Yeah,
with data to reduce costs, right? And so really what I mean by that is the interesting thing is when I deal with a lot of clients or I talk to folks on the phone, they have very high concerns with the uprising of cost and existing services going across the globe. Typically, data is the way to reduce cost and to make processes more efficient. So I will say that I always get very excited when we have a win on that forefront when
absolutely.
we're leveraging data and putting it in the right place to save a substantial amount of money for a client.
And something that clients really appreciate, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was mentioning, again, the danger of frauds connected to the development of artificial intelligence. From on one hand, it permits even to fight fraud in a better way, but it could be
Yeah.
in the wrong hand. Um, what kind of challenges is that for a company like NetNumber and for your work?
Yeah, so kind of the challenges that we face there, there's there's two types that really come to mind in today's digital landscape. I hear a lot of different services around account takeover in the fraud space, and everyone's very focused on all of these different types of data to demystify this type of fraud, right? You'll hear of some service providers saying, oh, well, you need SIM swap, which is basically just detecting a SIM change in a device, and that's where a fraudster takes over the device, right? And basically the subscription of the victim. So I will say that some of the challenges there really lay with that.
In your view, what are the most pressing issues or risks related to fraud detection and prevention in today's digital landscape? And how is NetNumber addressing these challenges?
Yeah, so one of the biggest fraud prevention risks I see going around is around the use case account takeover. We see many service providers, talking about different types of data connectivity, like SIM swap, for instance. SIM swap is basically to where fraudster is taking a SIM card and swapping the device and taking over the account of a subscriber or a victim. I will say that in a lot of those instances to where you really unravel the fraud, if you think like a fraudster, they're going to do a lot more than that. They're going to port that phone number to another network. And that's why NetNumber, we're really focused on providing services to combat against port out fraud. So within even this year, we launched a service called Number Watch that allows an enterprise communication service provider, whoever, to send us all of their phone numbers in their ecosystem, and we'll tell them if they ever port. So what that does is it kind of gives you ahead of potential account takeover situations, as well as we have a service called Number View that can give you a look back or a timestamp of what ported out and what changed, right? So it kind of monitors. We have the monitoring and we have kind of the look back solution to address those operator and line type changes as they're happening. And we noticed that alongside with services like SIM swap is really the best way to fight account takeover. So I would say that NetNumber, sometimes we are the missing link in some of those workflows or services, and so I'm doing a lot of messaging to try to get that out. Another
And that's only real time.
Yeah. So and another thing that's impacting the digital landscape right now is we've all talked or heard about spoofing. It's happening all across the world, and that's where you're receiving a text message from a phone number that isn't really belonging to whoever the sender is, right? Trying to pose as someone different. And what's basically happening is there's a lot of data harvesting going on. So a lot of folks will receive that message or that phone call and give personally identifiable information, whether you're going to a website and putting in login credentials for another website, or you're giving away some sort of information just by responding or clicking. Really, there's no 100% way to detect that in today's world. And really that's where really plugging and playing phone number intelligence can really make a difference. You see a phone number come in for the first time, we have all of that supplemental information that tells you everything you need to know about that phone number. If something changes, and when you see that phone number again, guess what? We've got a lot more checking and validating to do to prevent fraud, right? And so That's one thing that we really try to focus on with clients is making sure that they're using real-time data and they're checking for those. I call them differences or anomalies, right? And that really helps combat a lot of the spoofing going on, because what will happen is spoofers, what we notice is if in the fraud attacks that I've seen, what we notice is they start going away or start backing off if they're not getting a response on a specific number. So if they're sending you a bunch of spoofs and you use that wonderful Android or Apple report block feature.
Is it's deterrence as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so what will happen is you become to a fraudster that's trying to harvest data about you through using spoofing. We'll notice that a lot of times they will just start disengaging, just kind of like a marketer does. If fraudsters think like marketers. They're trying to get your money. They're trying to convert you into revenue, right? And so what happens in any marketing, if the same telemarketer calls you 100 times and you never answer, they're not going to waste their time anymore. Same thing happens in spoofing. So
That's very clear.
yeah.
What are the new ways? Okay, you explained some of the more interesting ways, but are there new frontiers to fight impersonations and frauds? Do you see, for example, the artificial intelligence helping in the future more that it can now? Because you said at the moment it's not something that we can prevent really. There are
Yeah.
means to contrast the problem, but
Yeah.
you cannot refuse it.
Yeah, so brand impersonation is on the uptick. It's on the rise. What's happened is all of banks, enterprises of all sorts, they have this global brand recognition, which is just tremendous, right, for their business to where they've scaled. What's happening is all of their phone numbers that they use to service accounts or on their website or for whatever specific reason. They might have hundreds and hundreds of phone numbers. What's happening is fraudsters are spoofing those phone numbers and making them look like they're actually that business entity to take over you know um, to take over harvest information about those enterprises or banks clients, right? And so what we see happening with brand impersonation is this type of spoofing is working, right? A mainstream bank might have 60% of the adult population as clients, right, in a specific country. Well, what will happen is that fraudster will send a message, create a fake URL asking them to verify their credentials, and then they'll take over the account, right? Well, what we've released at netnumber, and it's in North America for right now, is where we started because we see a really big uptick of problems there. Is we've launched something called Number Lock. Number Lock
Mhm.
enables a bank, enterprise of any kind to send us all of their phone numbers that they have. So when you think about a bank, they might have thousands of branches, right, with thousands of phone numbers. They can send those to us, and we will lock them down from being provisioned, meaning that a secondary market communication provider cannot provision to even send messages or make calls with that phone number anymore. So number lock is really a powerful tool to fight brand impersonation. And we even have the capabilities to alert you if someone tries to. which leads that, to future product opportunities, right? Maybe more in the enforcement front. Um, so it's a really exciting time for that. We've rolled it out and we've seen great success so far, and we're just encouraging everyone to look into it and really think about if that's something that they need to use to protect their enterprise and to protect their customers from fraud.
Can you give us an example of something that really happened with a client when it was successful, or even not successful, as you prefer, but just a precise. You were pretty clear, but I think with an example we could give a better idea.
Yeah, so to give you an example, and I'll use the bank example for brand impersonation. So there was a large major bank here in the United States who had approximately 800 different branches, and they're a significantly older bank, and they've
Like a retail,
what's that?
kind of a retail bank.
Yep. Yeah, so in a
Hmm.
big consumer bank, right? So so for retail banking, they have over 800 branches across the United States. They have their technical stack. What's happened because they're an older bank? They've had to adopt and evolve multiple layers of different technology, right? And now they're at the point to where they're larger, but they're trying to consolidate all that. Well, that's where fraud attacks, right? Because you have all of these different systems running over here with all these different silos. And so fraudsters are very sophisticated. They're figuring that out. What happened last year is there were clusters of text messages being sent out to broad areas of states that this bank serves dominantly, and they were sending them out on Thursday evenings saying that there is a problem with your direct deposit. So most people in the states get paid on Thursdays or Fridays via direct deposit. So there was a ring of text messages that appeared from a bank branch's phone number being sent out and saying there's a problem with your direct deposit. Please click this link and verify your login credentials.
Right.
And they were within, I don't know, a week's time, there were almost 1 million customers impacted that had given up their credentials. And out of that million, there were maybe 30% whose bank accounts were had fraud on them within a few days. So this became a problem to where they had to purchase many different solutions because of the uptick of fraud, right? Spending millions of dollars, impacting their bottom line. This year,
Sure.
I can successfully announce that we have locked down all of their phone numbers and the risk is contained.
So
Meaning
that
that
cannot happen again.
no one can send out any messages and look like them if and this goes back to the bank making their customers aware, right, that this has happened, and it's a step in the right direction to keep their information safe, right? Not to mention now they don't have to spend millions of dollars on all of these additional fraud verification tools. They might still spend part of that, right? Because it's important to keep it safe. But now they've kind of contained that risk. And so, really saving them millions of dollars.
So with this solution, that won't happen again. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, so what we've done is we've locked down every single phone number for every single branch at that bank, and now if anyone attempts to send any kind of message using one of their phone numbers, they now get an alert that they're under attack again, and that message won't be able to be sent.
Um, in terms, we were talking about regulatory compliance. What's the net number position in terms of regulatory compliance and adapting to evolving data privacy laws domestically and internationally? You already touched this key issue, but again, you said how confusing could be and how difficult could be for someone doing your. But what's the strategy there for NetNut?
Yeah, to be honest with you, um, I like to leave regulatory compliance and data privacy to folks who have a law degree and a practice in the legal fields. But I will say this from a data solutioning aspect
Sure.
is we pay very close attention to where our data is going, how it's being processed, and we stay on top of local laws in partnership with our clients, right, to make sure that whatever we're doing is extremely safe and sound with the ever evolving privacy and regulation requirements.
That's, the technical point of view. It's sometimes more important than the lawyer point of view because you can make laws,
Yeah,
then, if the technology
right.
don't allow to.
I will say in the 18 years, the best approach is to document and be able to explain why you're using data and how you're using it,
Yeah.
and and to get everyone in alignment on that. And it takes the whole team. It takes the whole team to think about best practices and as well as the impact of establishing trust, right? So I will say around that is the best thing I can say that we do is we document our processes. We make it very clear and transparent what kinds of services we have and how the data can be used.
Looking ahead, what are your visions or goals for the future in net numbers, data solutions, and how do you want to achieve them? Do you plan to achieve them?
Yeah, Ricardo, that's a whole other call. Um, no, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. So really, just talking through a high level of goals and future plans. Earlier in this conversation, I talked about number intelligence as a service. My first goal is really to advance everyone's knowledge base on phone number intelligence and make this more transparent so that markets and industry fully understand its importance, and it's not going anywhere and it's only going to get more complex, right? So I think that there's a whole awareness opportunity there. Months to come, you will see me updating our website with a lot of helpful information and kind of a refresh to information for all around services, capabilities, and things that we're seeing out in the world. In addition to that, we're going to continue to evolve our product roadmap to address the uptick of different fraud types. And that's really to fuel artificial intelligence and machine learning because we know that everyone's already focused on that. And so it's really creating a service catalog that transparent and very helpful to help fuel that. I will say too that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to partner with many folks across the world that are using phone numbers. At NetNumber here, we have a pretty impressive technology stack that's limitless on what we can build together with partners. So we will continue to be exploring that more to solve for phone number intelligence to benefit everyone. So I will say that those are probably my two biggest focuses right now.
Well, that's a lot of work ahead.
Yeah.
Bradley, the same question we're asking everybody really at the end of the interview. Let's figure out, let's say you close your eyes for 10 seconds. You don't need to do it, but think about closing your eyes and reopen it in the future. 10 years from now, what do you see? No, it can be about data solutions, but can be about anything really. What do you see in 10 years? Because you see, just 10 years ago, something that's happening now, it was, probably predictable, but not so much in terms, for example, of artificial intelligence, what now artificial intelligence can do. So what do you see in 10 years?
If the next 10 years is like the last 10 years, really what I see is a totally evolved on-demand digital world to where your smart device is required for almost every single thing that you do. When you think about 10 years ago, people were still paying bills by mail. People were still calling each other on the phone. Online banking, online bill payment was being used, but not as rigorously or aggressively. Companies, in order to do almost anything, you almost have to have a digital footprint anymore. And I would say that in the next 10 years, that gap will be closed, and it'll be a very interesting time for everyone. I also think that people are becoming more environmentally aware, and that's leading the way for all of these technical advances towards vehicles. Electronic vehicles are now a normal thing. Solar energy and power is now a normal thing. All of that's digital. And so it's going to be really interesting when in 10 years when the world is more digital focused. And that's why I think that device is going to be the center hub of everything everyone does and almost required in every instance.
Thank you, Bradley. Bradley Greer, the Vice President of Data Solutions and Product Marketing at NetNumber. Thank you for this. That's all for this episode. Thank you for this, Bradley. That's all for this episode of Perspective, the MEF podcast where experts and industry leaders talk about what they think, see, and expect in the world of technology, telecommunications, and innovative mobile services. Stay tuned. From Riccardo Amati, goodbye and good luck with your work.
Thanks for listening to Perspectives in Mobile. This episode was part of a 6-part series on managing change in the digital era, supported by NetNumber, the source of high-quality data on phone number portability, fraud prevention data, and signaling and routing control. Stay tuned, stay connected, and join us next for more insights and discussions.